Hey, what's up ladies and gentlemen, it is I am the one and only Ray the Flying Squirrel here, and I am back for the likes of the Mexi Toys videos once again. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back for some more of Let's Play of Super Mario Bros. Wonder for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time, we've essentially did manage able to begun exploring through the majority of some stages for the likes of the Special World, and some of them are actually somewhat easy than the others, while some of them are actually ridiculously difficult, mainly with the forms of, you know what I mean, with the forms of Way of the Goomba, and on top of that with the top-down perspective one, and also not to mention though, there's a lot of the forms of those poison stuff for the likes of the forms of Fungi Mine special levels. So because of that, thankfully we did somehow manage to accomplish those, and also we actually did somewhat got very close to able to actually fully complete every single aspects about the forms of those standees, because as you can see, we've only got 2 more left, which means that hopefully we should be able to actually get ourselves the final 2 standees during this entire process. So today, for this video, is about the fact that not only we can able to complete everything on the Special World entirely, but also get this folks, this is gonna be the true finale of our Let's Play of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, because, relatively speaking, it's about the fact that we're now on to the final stretch of the game. So here we go, on to the next level right here, which appears to be the semi-final test, and as you can see, we're going back into that familiar kind of level, and that's what appears to be Piranha Plant Reprise. So this means about the fact that, do you guys even remember the level of Piranha Plants on Parade from the beginning portion of the game? Well, think of like the exact same concept, except now they obviously now added in some more features to the table, a very special march. So, and in some cases though, it's about the fact that they now start to be able to featuring some bullet bills and even more piranha plants, and this level is going to be pretty tricky as a result. Although, despite the fact that we did somehow select Yoshi in this stage, meaning about the fact that obviously this will be the last time we're going to be seeing Yoshi in the actual gameplay itself, just because no matter what though, I'm pretty certain once we're able to actually continue proceedings to the forms of, you know, the Special World itself, obviously we will be selecting Mario for the sake of consistency, and on top of that, we can able to finish up the last true final level as Mario until for later. So because of that, yeah, everything else will be come to expect at this point. So, anyways, a few things we want to explain for this point today is that, well, today's date of course here is the 7th of February today, in some cases in 2024 today. Although it's kind of unfortunate about the fact that I don't think it's possible that the Nintendo Direct is not coming this week, but from what I've noticed, it could probably potentially try to able to show up and during at some point until next week or so, which is roughly around that time, where basically that's going to be around the exact same week as the forms of, presumably speaking, the 13th anniversary of the Mexi Toys YouTube channel itself, which as a result, it could be pretty exciting though when it comes to both of those things related to that, but it could be a possibility though, especially concerning for the fact that it's been about a couple of months ago since we've last had the Nintendo Direct since in September last year. So because of that, despite the fact that that particular previous Direct, which appears to be on September 2023, was pretty successful, especially in the finale portion, because, you know, very excited to play, you know, Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door on the go. No need to worry about the forms of carrying the actual GameCube, you know, out of anywhere. So, yeah, you probably get the idea of what I was expecting to say for this point. So, anyway, so once we finish this level right here, then we can able to actually go ahead and hop over to the next flower propeller, and this will pretty much lead us to the next level, and suffice to say, we do need about roughly 16 of these specific Wonder Seeds, so just in case we can able to actually access to the next level. So because of that, and this time we'll go ahead and play as Nabbit, and I think suffice to say that this will be the last level we're going to be doing with Nabbit, so just so I'm sure if we're able to show us some different varieties. So here we go, the final trial, the Wonder Goblet, or should I say the final test Wonder Goblet. So, yeah, basically though, this entire stage involves around in, well, collect the actual Wonder Flower first of all, and we have to go through a serious amount of those Wonder effects, similar to the forms of how it does it in the final battle, Bowser's Rage stage, except the notable differences this time is that this level has no checkpoints, so if you dare die at least once, obviously you have to start all over at the beginning of the level. So because of that though, and I think, fundamentally speaking though, this is actually going to be the final Wonder Flower we can able to come across into. Because obviously, once we're done with any other aspects, specifically, not only we can able to actually get the next batch of the forms of those 10 flower coins, but also about the fact that we can able to expect to get some even more Wonder Seeds for that specific period, so we can pretty much expect about the fact that we'll save that particular topic for later. So, and like I mentioned this earlier, is about the fact I don't think it's possible that Nintendo Direct is coming this week, but rather the forms of next week. So it's basically, it's kind of like the equivalent to, let's just say, not only for 2019, but also with the forms of probably 2021 as well. So because of that though, it will appear probably later on during the course of in February, so we can pretty much expect the fact that, again, this is just the beginning of the forms of not just by the forms of this entire month of February, but also with the forms of, oh jeez, that was close, even though despite the fact that I'm kind of become invincible at one point, so I know for a fact it's considerably a bit cheating, but trust me what I'm saying is, this will be the true definition of the final time we're going to be playing as Nabbit throughout the course of this game, just for sure for the fact that, like I said before, we'll save Mario for last for one specific aspect. So, anyways though, what's good news though is about the fact that there are some other topics we'd like to mention, although I don't think it's possible we can able to mention every single aspect in Journey Forms of today, but I'm sure enough though is about the fact that whilst both Sonic and Knuckles will both mention about more topics, and during at some points, once they've going back on to Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze at one point, then you probably get the idea for this point. So, anyways though, speaking of which though, is about the fact that recently, I have basically now managed to gather every single of these, well, that was Journey Forms of the other day actually, where basically, I somehow managed to got myself the Dragon Fire Sonic from the likes of Sonic Dash. Now as a result, I was very satisfied, able to actually now finally got that particular cosmetic character, and because of that though, I'm very proud of it. And on top of that, maybe in Journey Forms of in today, recently actually, that basically, why do I just ground pound? I blame on my D-pad for my Switch Pro controller. Why did I just do that? I suppose it really doesn't matter, because obviously we can still able to collect some even more flower coins eventually, because not only we can able to buy the last 2 standees that we can able to buy, but also about the fact that we can never forget about the forms of the final 3 badges at one point in Journey Forms of in a Poplin shop. Because, as far as I'm usually concerned, that one thing I do actually realize is that a lot of people seem to able to really enjoy equipping the forms of the orange type badges a lot more, just because obviously they'll help you out for the sake of the forms of some situations. So, which I at the very least agree with, especially because if you really want to go after the forms of that particular golden flagpole at the end of a level, then obviously that's probably is the reason for it. And on top of that, I believe they somehow use the yellow types of badges the least. I think it's most notably because the forms that invincibility badge is probably my least favorite badge that I somehow use. But regardless of everything else though, everything else will become to expect with the forms of specific opinions about the forms of some other aspects in Journey Forms of specific badge system as far as I'm concerned. So, but either way though, so enjoying at some point in Journey Forms of today actually, I'm now started able to go back onto Sonic Dash again, except now I'm in the forms of the actual process of able to actually unlock the yet another cosmetic character, and this time what appears to be Tails, but he forms of Dragon Claw Tails. So yeah, I'm actually still in the process of trying to unlock him, despite the fact that we still have to work with the forms of those character cards unlocking system. So I'm still not a big fond of that, but regardless of everything else though, is about the fact that I'm very glad to able to actually just to like get some more characters again for the sake of Sonic Dash in general. Although what I found was a little bit weird though is about the fact that I still have no idea that I somehow managed to only obtain one of those specific cards by the fonts of Chrome Silver, despite the fact that sadly we still haven't unlocked him so far, after realizing about the fact that we honestly totally forgot about him. But that particular topic can wait though, especially concerning for the fact that at this point in time, as you can tell, that we finally complete the level, despite the fact that we use the easiest character on Journey forms of this stage. Although I would have liked able to select Luigi on this level, but technically we've already selected him for the sake of the forms of Way of the Goomba level, so... Anyway, so if we think we are basically done here, well, as it turns out, we actually got ourselves yet another medal, and another medal as well. So because of that, oh, even another one too. So, yeah, everything else is all pretty much settled from then. So, I think, if I recall correctly, to get medal number 2, is that I'm pretty sure you need to gather every single Wonder Seeds throughout the whole game. And on top of that, there's also with the forms of gathering every single 10 flower coins as well. Now, I believe that could be also applied for able to get every single gold flags, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, you probably get the idea for that point. Now, we've only got 2 medals left, and the 5th medal we're going after, as you can see, that we've brought every single stand day. So, yes, it needs to be required for a 100% completion. So, there's our another medal right here. So we've only got 1 medal left, and that actually requires us to able to buy the last few badges. So even though technically we've only got 4 badges left, so what I'm gonna do is that, potentially speaking of, before we get on to the true final level, let me go ahead and switch over to Mario quickly, because there is that particular technique you can able to do, and specifically in this stage, in the forms of Con Darts Away. Basically though is about the fact that there is this trick called the Infinite 1-Up trick, where basically, just like the forms of how it does on the previous games, that you need to able to find a specific Koopa shell, and try to able to create that specific staircase, and that way you can able to actually try to able to guarantee to able to actually achieve that particular 1-up trick. So you see what I mean whenever we get to the forms of the later portion of this stage right here, and obviously about the fact that unfortunately we can't leave the level while able to actually doing with the forms of the 1-up trick, sadly. Although I feel like that getting a 1-up trick in this game sometimes though is a little bit tricky, but regardless of everything else though, because I'm pretty much used to with the forms of New Super Mario Bros. 2, for the sake of the actual 1-up trick, just because it's really easy to able to not only farm some more extra lives, but it's also about the fact that, well, you get the idea. Oh, and by the way, something's worth noting for is about the fact that recently that Disney Plus has released the Marvels just recently today. Although, keep this in mind though, is about the fact that we are curious to check it out, although our expectations is far lower than I was expecting, because obviously with the short runtime, and again, we're probably gonna have to able to just save that particular topic for a later time, or perhaps even maybe that both Sonic and Knuckles will both mention more about it until tomorrow's case for the sake of Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So, but either way though, that's for a topic for that time. So, but either way though, because concerning for the fact that, well, obviously that me, alongside with Sonic and Knuckles, are curious to check that film out until probably during the forms of it tonight, potentially. So because of that though, that we'll just give our final thoughts of that particular film until specifically, well, again, it's probably best if we let both Sonic and Knuckles will mention more about it, again, until at some point until tomorrow, for the sake of their continuation portions for, you know, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. So, but either way, so... And then, yeah, as you can tell, that we did somehow pull off that particular Infinite 1-Up trick, as you can tell. Although it's kind of tricky to get used to because of the forms of the actual momentum. And on top of that, I'm still pretty much used to with the forms of that exactly the same technique as the forms of not only for Super Mario Bros. On the NES, but also with the forms of New Super Mario Bros. 2 for able to max out our lives counter with 1,110 lives, which also applies with Super Mario 3D Land, and especially noticeable with Super Mario 3D World as well. But it's even really crazy about the fact that there was a game called Super Paper Mario. They managed to do this completely opposite. Like, for instance, if you try to do that trick, on Super Paper Mario, for some odd reason, they just somehow subtract your experience score points, which as a result, I have no idea they managed to come up with this idea, so... Anyways, let's get into, presumably speaking, the final propeller flower, and this pretty much leads us to the final test. And as a result, out of all the actual levels in this game, it's a good thing we did somehow ranked up some more extra lives in this process. And here we go on to, without a doubt, the hardest level in the entire game. And as a result, we have the final test, Badge Marathon. And take a guess what this particular level represented for. Well, do you remember with the forms of specific badges that we did somehow technically already learned from the forms of in the past few moments ago? Well, we do need to be able to utilize them for the entire stage. And because of that though, we have to go through, if I recall correctly, 10 segments. And because of that though, we have to be able to learn specific abilities. Like for instance, with the parachute cap. And on top of that, there's also the, I would say the floaty jump, like floating higher jump and stuff like that. You know, similar physics thing compared to the forms of how it does it for New Super Luigi U. But relatively speaking, this level is going to be pretty tough, ranging from very tricky platforming, and on top of that, unlike the forms of how it does it on any other badge challenge stages that we've already done in the past few worlds. Basically, if you do die at one point, not only you lose some bit of progression, but it's also about the fact that you will miraculously lose a life if you dare manage to able to screw this up, which as a result, thankfully at the beginning it's not too bad, but it's just at the very end though that you see what I mean. And luckily we still managed to keep our elephant fruits with us, so just in case we can able to get some bit of you know, protection and stuff like that. It is even kind of crazy when you're trying to swim with elephant transformation, because as you can tell, the water is fully stored into the actual trunk. So despite the fact that we can't use water anymore, because obviously the only time we can only go into water is by swimming and trying to avoid a lot of electricity stuff. So, and just like in any other levels, there's going to be some even more 10 flower coins to find, and I think this will actually be the final bunch of the 10 flower coins we can able to expect to get. And this time, as you can tell, unlike in any other special secret final levels in any other Mario games, well, at least ever since in Journey forms of technically New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the 3DS, that basically we now actually have checkpoints in Journey forms of the final special levels. So yeah, it's pretty interesting, especially noticeable. Thankfully, you don't need to able to deal with this particular stage all in one go. So, because of that though, thankfully checkpoints are pretty plentiful. Well, I'm pretty sure there was only like 2 checkpoints, I'm pretty sure. So, just in case you don't get too frustrated too much. So, either way, now we need to go on to the forms of the crouching high jump thingy, and the previous section we've already done is obviously a dolphin kick that we've already did that no problem, despite we did somehow got hit twice for the sake of the forms of not only for those electricity, but it's also about the fact that, well, you get the idea. So the next segment we have to go to is the forms of that particular special wall jump technique. So yeah, for the most part, it's not too bad. It's just that in the final portion of the stage, that will give us a lot of problems. But either way, that particular topic can wait until whenever we get to that point. So, either way, for the most part, it's actually pretty okay as it is, but you have to be able to rush this just in case, no matter what though, the lava will start to rise. So here we go on to Spring Feet, where I feel like this one is also very difficult, mainly because you have to deal with that specific timing jump, because otherwise if you dare touch one of those fire bars, that's it, you're done. So, and even then though, just like the forms of how it does it on most of those hardest levels in any 2D Mario games up to this point, no power-ups in there. So because of that, we have to do this on a singular run. So, well, assuming of course if you do want to activate the checkpoints, then you'll be good to go, obviously, as far as I'm usually concerned with. So, but either way, as far as another thing I would like to explain about this, potentially speaking though, is that for what I've noticed is that during at some point in a Super Bowl advertisements, well, suffice to say that we might able to get ourselves our first glimpse, or should I say, the first look at the forms of Knuckles the series will be released at some point on this upcoming Sunday during the forms of the Super Bowl. So I'm actually pretty excited about this, and I'm sure that Knuckles will be pretty excited about this as well, if again they're able to save that mentioning about that particular stuff until for later. So even then though, let's just go ahead and try this particular section again. So, oh jeez Louise, the actual pattern is so nerve-wracking. Oh gosh darn it, I somehow messed this up. But then again, it's a good thing we've already maxed out our 1-ups, so just in case that we don't want to get a game over. Because if you get a game over, I'm pretty sure that just like in any other new Super Mario Bros. Games up to this point, well, specifically, New Super Mario Bros. Wii, New Super Mario Bros. 2, and even with New Super Mario Bros. U, and let's not forget ourselves with New Super Luigi U as well, basically, you get 5 lives back, and that's all you have to really think about it. So, God, I could imagine if you ever try to play this particular stage on multiplayer, it will be a lot more chaotic more than ever. So, best assured, I highly recommend you're able to experience this stage only with just by yourself, because otherwise, you're about to die a lot if you dare manage to play this stage with multiplayer. Although, thankfully it doesn't get in your way, unlike the forms of how it does it on New Super Mario Bros. Wii, as well as New Super Mario Bros. U, and even with New Super Luigi U, because obviously sometimes they can, certain players can easily get in your way sometimes, especially if you try to rush certain stages for shorter time limit. But regardless of everything else though, that's as far as we can able to noticing this, so... But either way, thankfully we can easily get our extra 1-up back if we do die occasionally on this stage, just for the sake of the forms of how much coins you're going to be gathering. So at least coins is actually pretty important for trying to get extra lives back sometimes. Alright, it's gonna have to focus. Alright, at least we passed this part. Oh, this section is really tricky though. Oh jeez, my heart is beating too fast. Oh, nice. Okay, and I'm pretty sure as soon as we're able to go into that particular red pipe over there, thankfully though, it does give us the last checkpoint. So at the very least we've got that, and we grow back in size again. So the next section we're going to is Jet Run. So yeah, it can be pretty tricky at times, especially concerning for the fact that, you know, sometimes it takes a bit while to get used to with this particular Jet Run move technique. So we can pretty much expect that we'll basically got this, I'm pretty certain. So, and also thankfully every time you do die, you can able to actually recollect certain flower coins again, just in case you can able to actually get enough for those flower coins for the sake of trying to able to get the last few items from here and there. So at least ironically enough, I found this section right here is actually overall really easy, especially concerning for the fact that if you know what to do, then obviously you'll be good to go. And the next section coming up, which appears to be Buddy forms of the Grappling Vine. So this one is actually a little bit tricky, but nothing compared to the forms of how it does it on the final section. My goodness, the final section is going to be too brutal, and not only that though, it's incredibly luck-based, and you see what I'm talking about, until whenever we get to the last section of the level, and it brings us into some life strainers, and not only that though, again, it's incredibly luck-based, so... I mean, for the most part, I'm doing quite well, actually. And, that pretty much leads us to the final section, which, as a result, we've met again with the Invincibility Badge. Oh my god, this one is really tough. And like I said earlier, this section is luck-based, because you can't really tell where you're going, and on top of that, if you die at one point, like for this bouncy section right here, obviously, if you dare fall off to a bottomless pit down below, you have to go all the way back to Jet Run section again. So, and what makes this even worse is that on this last bit right there, we have to take a massive guess to see where you are, and usually those clouds are getting your way, and it's just about the fact that I'm not a big fan of that particular section right here, and it's always this gosh darn last section of that particular stage. I mean, it's kind of like the equivalent to the forms of I think the toughest section in the Perfect Run mission in Super Mario Galaxy 2 involves around not only for those Hammer Bros, but also with certain Boomerang Bros. Although, potentially speaking though, the only thing you need to worry about is just avoiding those Hammer Bros and trying to focusing on defeating Boomerang Bros, but it still is pretty chaotic as it is. And on top of that, there's also one of those moments in Journey Evolves of a New Super Mario Bros. 2 for the Impossible Pack DLC, which obviously brings us to the final level where basically the poison water starts to rise and descend. So yeah, that's also incredibly nerve-wracking. Whilst, ironically enough, unlike the forms of how it does it on New Super Mario Bros. U, I feel like certain stages are not too bad for the true final world, which is of course World 9, even though there's only one level exception to that, and that's what appears to be involved around the P-switch. And on top of that, in comparison to the forms of New Super Mario Bros. Wii, with that dreaded 9-7, because the forms of the ice blocks, they easily become meltable, for the sake of not only if you try to use the fireballs by complete accident with your fire flower, but also with the forms of those fire bros, and even especially noticeable with these piranha plant spewing fireballs, just gets in your way. And also not to mention though is the forms of the last section in Journey Evolves have been probably in Super Mario 3D World for Champions Road. They have to avoid a lot of those laser beams. And let's not forget ourselves with the forms of that very tricky section in Journey Evolves have been Super Mario Odyssey in the darker side, where basically though you have to take control of this woodpecker type of enemy, and as a result I still can never pass that section during the course of him back then, especially concerning for the fact it's a little bit tricky to try to able to control that thing sometimes. So but anyways, we made our way back into this impossible section right here, because obviously, like I said earlier, it's incredibly luck-based. And it's even worse though, is that it's actually going to be at the very end, where basically, if you really want to go for a true completionist, well, don't expect things too much, because obviously, after we're done with this entire ordeal, we're able to actually get past with this luck-based section, obviously, there's one last true final gold flagpole that we need to reach into. So because of that, and if you mess up at one point, you have to start all over again for doing this process. And I felt incredibly bad for some players who didn't manage to mess up with that particular golden flagpole completionist. And luckily, it doesn't take me about multiple attempts to try to get to this point whenever I first play this game, but jeez Louise, this level becomes a little bit more too much of difficulty, and I'm pretty sure that for whatever reason, they do not seem able to accept to actually have blue equipped badges, I'm pretty sure, because they are most likely utilized for specific abilities like magnetic coins and all that stuff, which, to be quite frank here, after we're done with the majority of some parts of this game, I'm thinking I was able to show off some of these other badges that we haven't exactly used yet. So yeah, I think that might be a perfect way for able to finish off that particular playthrough like that. Although, I kind of wish I was able to activate online functionality, so potentially I could able to let other players help me as ghost forms, but that's not gonna happen though, just because we're just at the very end of the game now, so. Alright, third time lucky I'm hoping for this particular infamous section of this stage, but still, it's incredibly tough, like, not so much. Oh my gosh, this level is gonna be really brutally difficult. In fact, let me know in the comments down below for the question of the day. What was your hardest levels you've ever experienced in any of the Mario games? Because I would like to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below. Because for me though, it has to be by the forms of, let's just say, the Perfect Run mission in Super Mario Galaxy 2, and another one which appears to be let's just say, Impossible Pack for New Super Mario Bros. 2, for all three levels combined, and, on top of that, there was, Champions Road and Super Mario 3D World, that I've always seemed to have struggled with, at least as far as I'm aware, that, Sonic did actually tell me something, that he did manage to struggle with that level back in long time ago, at least on the Wii U version, just because of how brutally difficult that can be. And on top of that, I don't think that the darker side is not too challenging. It's just that one of those sections is always really darn difficult to able to try to navigate through. And unless if assuming if you try to able to pull off this cool trick, that if you try to able to turn into a pterodactyl kind of character, and obviously you can able to shake the actual the Switch Pro controller, likely you'll start able to get infinite amount of glide, but it doesn't seem to last very long. But unless if you try to pull that off, then you can able to skip some difficult sections in the darker side. But regardless of everything else though, that's as far as I can think about it. So, but I will say that the final test badge marathon is really brutally difficult. Probably without doubt is the hardest 2D Mario level of all time, next to Impossible Pack for New Super Mario Bros. 2, unless if you try to able to go for without White's Tanuki power-up. So, but that's the way I feel about it, I guess. So, but finally, we somehow made it. But if you think we've done, well, we've got one more thing left. And that's, of course, this infamous golden flagpole right there. And luckily, I did it on my first attempt. Oh, thank goodness, I don't have to touch this level ever again. And there's our final, Wonder Seed. So we basically gathered every single Wonder Seed in the whole entire game. So, my goodness, that was quite rough. Even especially noticeable in the ending section, that always gets to me. So, anyway, so it looks like we somehow made our way to the ending portion of this particular section, where basically we come across into Wonder. Okay, I wonder what that's going to be all about. I think my guess is about the fact that we can pretty much expect to get one of those special rewards we can able to get after completing this particular stage all by itself. So we can pretty much expect to know about the fact that, well, it looks like that special world is completely done. So, oh my goodness, I think I do need to have a drink after I'm basically done with this particular recording session. So, sounds off badge. Okay, I have no idea what that's going to be all about, huh? Thank you for playing. You are a super wonder. And it looks like, yep, we've got the new badge. And I'm pretty sure we'll test that out at some point whenever we get on to the last few bits of extras, basically. So, in some cases, though, and there's our final text box from the sake of the forms of Prince Florian. So, just to ensure for the fact that we are basically now got ourselves the special secret badge that we can now able to use anywhere. So, and I believe that's all there is to really think about it. So, yeah, I might as well quit that right now, just in case we can able to show this off. Once we're able to start to realize about the fact that the entire completion itself is not exactly done just yet. Because as you can tell, since no matter what though, we've got ourselves a brand new badge, which appears to be Sounds Off badge. We still need to able to try to get the final 3 badges. So, let's go over to the fast travel system by able to actually go into Shining Falls in one of the levels I'm about to hit off to. And that, I think we'll go ahead and select, no, not Red Yoshi, we'll go for Nabbit. I know I was originally did say that this will be the last time we're going to be using Nabbit in this playthrough. So let's go back into the Sugar Star Trial Across the Night Sky. Because, potentially speaking of, this is a great level to able to max out our flower coins, presumably speaking. So just in case, if you really want to buy any other items throughout, specifically, not just by the forms of the remaining badges, like my perspective for instance, but also with the forms of those remaining standees as well, because obviously about the fact that, well, I'm pretty sure we need to aim for about, presumably speaking, for about 100 flower coins for each of these 3 badges as far as I'm concerned. And I'm pretty sure we need to aim for about 300 of those flower coins until we're able to buy the final 3 badges as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, basically the sound off badge, where basically is that whenever you do manage to equip that, all these sound effects, including the music as well, sounds incredibly off. So yeah, that's the reward you do get if you do manage to complete the true final level in the game. So yeah, let me just go ahead and just trying to commit suicide right there, because obviously I'm still in this process of, you know, getting all of those specific, you know, flower coins, potentially. So, and of course, we've already know about the forms of the sensor, so let's go and show off the exclamation mark blocks, where basically, what if you do manage to equip that badge, basically, I'm pretty sure it does manage to show us some even more blocks we're able to show up. So, yeah, that's basically how this does. So basically, sometimes it can either give you some useful power-ups, whilst other times it actually creates this platform so you can able to go across. So, yeah, pretty standard stuff for the most part, especially considering for the fact that it does kind of reminds me like you do manage to activate the Mario blocks to appear from the likes of Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2, or potentially with Yoshi's Island DS and all that stuff. So, yeah, you get the gist of it. So, but yeah, that's as far as anything else goes, although I suppose there's technically one more thing we can show off, but that will wait, especially considering for the fact that, well, remember the forms of those rainbow levels for the likes of New Super Mario Bros. 2, for example, where basically though you can able to get the insane amount of coins for if you manage able to go into one of those specific levels. Well, you see what I mean if we do manage able to reach that specific amount of those flower coins for doing this process alone. So, anyways, let's go ahead and equip the coin magnet right here, and basically it attracts not only regular coins, but also with flower coins as well. So it's a pretty useful badge if you dare manage to try to collect not only a bunch of coins, but also with the forms of those flower coins as well. So, you know, it's kind of like the equivalent to the forms of the electric shield from the likes of those Sonic games, except the fact that you can't perform a double jump in the process, and on top of that, we can't be electricity and stuff like that. So, either way though, that's saying something, I suppose. So, but then again, I would like to explain something else for this matter though, but honestly, that I should probably get into the actual final thoughts of the forms of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, actually, while doing this entire process. So, yeah, let me quickly show off the next badge, which appears to be Safety Bounce, where basically, if you do manage to equip this particular badge right here, this allows us to actually get back into the stage if you accidentally fell into the bottomless pit down below. You know, think of like the forms of how it does in the exactly the same ordeal as the forms of Peach-Jet from the likes of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe. Now, I'm still very surprised about the fact that Peach-Jet was not appeared in this game, even though despite the fact that she does make a return, not just by the forms of in Mario Kart Tour, but also with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for some odd reason. So, yeah, you get the idea for that point. So, but yeah, let's give my final thoughts in terms of the forms of Super Mario Bros. Wonder for the Nintendo Switch as far as this is concerned, whilst we're able to try to do this entire process of keep on farming some more of those flower coins, as you can tell. I will say, this is easily one of the best 2D Mario games I've ever played by far. And I will say, though, it's easily my second favorite 2D Mario game I've ever played, next to Super Mario Bros. 3, alongside with Super Mario World, because Super Mario World is perfect in every way. And relatively speaking, though, I just really love the sense of the forms of how the fact that this game is super recommendable recently for the likes of Nintendo Switch up to this point, which I'm pretty sure that will both, I'm pretty sure that both Sonic and Knuckles will mention more about it, until, again, if they go back onto Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, as far as you pretty much already expect. So, anyway, and, yeah, I really do enjoy the forms of the gameplay style in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. It's actually quite interesting, and on top of that, if you ever experienced the previous 2D Mario games before, you felt right at home, except the fact that there's no triple jump system this time around. So, but I'm pretty much already used to that. And on top of that, the visuals look amazing, even on the Nintendo Switch. It was not only super stylish, but it's also about the fact that the world themes, despite the fact that some of them are very familiar, but ultimately though, the actual world themes are very unique in comparison, even though that I really wish if there was actually a city-themed stage around here, but time will tell for the next Nintendo console in the future, but then again, time will tell. And, on top of that, I really love the soundtrack in this game. It's actually relatively new, and on top of that, though, it's about the fact that we don't need to worry about with the forms of this annoying kind of vocals in the background, which sometimes it gets a little bit repetitive from the likes of in the previous New Super Mario Bros. Games, especially having a sense about the fact that they obviously bring not 1, but 4 New Super Mario Bros. Games throughout the films of that particular series, or in some cases a sub-series or something. So anyways, let's show off this next badge right here, as you can tell, and that's what appears to be the Rhythm Badge, where if you time your jumps correctly while tuning into the actual music, basically though, you're able to actually get yourselves a notification saying that about the fact you pull off one of those combos for your specific rhythm jumps. So, you know, nothing major, but regardless of such though, technically we've already did this ever since injuring the forms of Ninja Party Stage from the likes of the forms of Sense in World 4. So, and oh yeah, let's get back into the forms of my final thoughts of this game. The story is overall very interesting, even though despite the fact that we still have to face off against with Bowser once again. However, just like the forms of how it does it on Super Mario 3D World, Peach is no longer a damsel in distress this time around. So, at the very least, that's obviously a good thing, mind you, because of how the fact that we've gone over for that particular point ever since in a very long time. So, yeah, relatively speaking though, I do appreciate it for the fact that, well, the amount of playable characters in this game though, it was really good. Especially concerning for the fact that we can able to play as 12 different playable characters, while technically speaking, that was potentially speaking though, probably 9 playable characters if you don't count the forms of, well, technically 8 for the sake of the forms if you don't count the multiple colored variants for certain characters. But potentially speaking though, having 12 playable characters is really cool though, even with a 2D Mario game as a matter of fact. So yeah, it's pretty cool though. And also another thing too is about the fact that, well, I would say the controls is really perfect, especially concerning, again, if you already experienced the previous 2D Mario games, you feel right at home, even though that, like I said before, there's no triple jumps in this game, so, oh well, no big deal. Now I gotta say, there's no negative things I can probably think about in this game in particular. Like, relatively speaking though, some people complain about the boss fights as a bit lackluster, but I will say though that the boss fight is probably the weakest aspect about the game. I mean, sure, that some of these designs are pretty interesting with both Bowser Jr. and Castle Bowser. I would say Castle Bowser is by far the best final boss in any other 2D Mario games in my opinion. I mean, I really wish that there was actually more to it than that, but that's just my negative stuff ends. So, apart from that, this game is perfect in every way, and as you can see, we've now able to got every single badges now. So because of that, we can now able to actually use all Fire Flower, all Drill Mushrooms, and heck, even with the forms of all of those, all the Elephant Fruits, and as well as the Bubble Flower. Oh yeah, I forgot about this thing right here, which appears to be Coins Glory. Which, as a result, yeah, it's kind of like the equivalent to the rainbow levels from New Super Mario Bros. 2. However, it's about the fact that, well, obviously this entire stage is still focuses around auto-scrolling, but this time around, though, it's about the fact that those coins come out in addition with the forms of those flower coins, obviously do now pop out from those cannons, rather than just the forms of from outer skies, or in some cases the rainbow itself. So, and also we got ourselves this familiar tune in the background, which appears to be that slide theme based off from Super Mario 64. So, once you reach to the end right here, that was basically all there was to it for that particular Coins Glory mode, or potentially speaking with this bonus stage. So, and as you can tell, we've now able to got the 6th and final medal for the sake of the forms of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, so this means we have basically 100% everything in this entire game. And once you do manage to get 100% completion in this game, basically the title screen background is actually different. Well, we've already technically seen it since in the beginning portion of the playthrough, just because I've already managed to 100% everything on my own time for a bit, just trying to able to practice the controls and all that. So yeah, that's the only reward you can get if you manage to 100% everything in Super Mario Bros. Wonder. But This is for bragging rights, I suppose. So I hope you guys do enjoy this particular playthrough of Super Mario Bros. Wonder, and I sure did have a really good and enjoyable time with this game, and I'm sure you're still able to recommend playing this game, even for the Nintendo Switch. It's doing pretty well recently, so this is me, Ray the Flying Squirrel, and until then, I will see you guys at some point soon. Bye!